This is a video on chapter 3 part 4 on changing the subject of a formula. Okay, over here we've got examples of formulas. It could be, for example, the area of a triangle, half times base times height. In this case we say that A is the subject because everything else is representing A over here. Another example, we've got the volume of a cylinder is given by B. V equals to pi r square h. So in this case we call V the subject. Okay, another example of a formula, I'm sure you can think of many. For example, the area of rectangle, let's call it A equals to length times breadth. So in this case, A again will be our subject. So how do we find the value of a variable in a formula if the quantities are given for the other variables? For example, if you're told to find the area of a rectangle and you are given, for example, L equals to 5 and B equals to 3. So how do we find the value of A? We will use substitution. All we need to do is to substitute L with 5. We substitute B with 3 to find that area equals to 15. Okay, first question over here. Here we have a formula. It is given by S equals to ut plus half at squared. Find the value of S when A, U, and T are of these given values. So just substitute them in. S equals to U, T plus half A, T squared. That will give us 60 plus 5 times 9, which is 105. So you can take some time to try part B yourself. Give yourself 1 minute should be sufficient. Pause the video, try it yourself, then move on to example 2. Here we have another formula. T equals to U plus V over U minus V. Find the value of T when U equals to 20, V equals to 15. So over here, give yourself 1 minute for this. And for part B, find V, but this time you are given U and T. So let us use substitution. We substitute T with 5 equals to 18 plus V over 18 minus V. I want to find the value of V. V is found in the numerator and the denominator. So what we will do is to use our pencil, help us with the multiplication. So we're left with 5 times of 18 minus V equals to 18 plus V. And I'm sure you can do the rest yourself to find out the value of V. Now I'll go through example 3b. I want you to do A by yourself. Okay, so for 3b, find the value of x when A is 3 and B is 4. So substitution again. 3 equals to square root. Copy everything you see. X minus 4, x plus 4. Okay, so now we want to get rid of the square root. We do so by squaring both sides. And we get x minus 4, x plus 4, which is actually x squared minus 4 squared. This tells me that x squared equals to 9 plus 16, which is 25. So x must be equals to plus minus square root of 25, which is plus minus 5. There are two answers over here. Okay, now back to what we were saying about subject of a formula. So the subject is a single term which is written in terms of other letters. For example, if I have a simple formula such as C equals to A plus B. We say that C is the subject. Okay, so if I want to change the subject, in this case, let's say with the example C equals to A plus B, I want to make B the subject. I want B on the left hand side only. So what I will do is to rearrange. And when I say rearrange, I mean I will subtract A on both sides. When I subtract A on both sides, I'll end up with C minus A equals to B. Now B is by itself already, but I want to put it on the left hand side. So I have B equals to C minus A. So now B is the subject. So that's done. So the reason why we change the subject of our formula is so that we can find the value of the new subject by substitution. Let me show you an example. In this case, we are given f equals to ma, where f is now our subject. Okay, suppose we want you to express a in terms of f and m. That's rather easy. We've got f equals to m a. We want to divide by m on both sides, resulting in f over m equals to a. Now, since we want to make a the subject, we put it on the left hand side. A equals to f over m. And what this means is that if you are given the values of f and m, and you're told to find a, all you need to do is to substitute the value of f inside here, substitute the value of m here, and straight away you will get the answer for a. So now a is given by 20 divided by 5, which is simply 4. Okay, compare it with if we did not make a the subject. If we didn't make a the subject, this is what we would have done. F equals to ma, f is 20 equals to 5a, a equals to 20 over 5, which still gives us 4. Note the differences between these two. When I make a the subject and then I do the substitution, I will get my answer straight away. If I did not make a the subject, but I chose to substitute 20 and 5 first, my final step will require me to do a division. 20 divided by 5 gives me 4. Okay, so let's try some examples. Example 1, make V the subject. Okay, this is easy. V is equals to U minus 2W. Example 2, make Q the subject. Q equals to P over 2R. Let me do example 4 for you. Make U the subject. Ut equals to S minus half AT squared. So U must be equals to S over T minus half AT. What I've done over here is to divide both sides by T. Now move on to example 5. Express y in terms of p and x. So in this case, I want to make y the subject. Everything else I want to remove. So the first thing I want to do is to divide by 2, giving me p over 2 equals to x plus y. So y must be equals to p over 2 minus x. So try example 3, example 6 by yourself, and check with your partner whether your answers are the same. So now we're going to move into something slightly more complicated. Example 8. express c in terms of x and y. So let us make, in other words, this is make c the subject. It's just another way of saying it. So I see that c is found in the denominator over here. Okay, so this c is found in the denominator and it is part of this fraction. I want to isolate it first. I want to make it stay by itself. So everything else I try to remove. So in this case I will want to remove 2x by subtracting 2x on both sides. This gives me y minus 2x equals to 5 over 3 minus c. Okay, now I want to move the c out from the denominator. So whenever we see a fraction is equal to something else, we naturally want to do this. Okay, so the next step will give us 3 minus c multiplied by y minus 2x is equals to 5. So now I still want my c only, which means I should get rid of y minus 2x, and I do so by dividing both sides. So 3 minus c equals to 5 over y minus 2x. And slowly we see that the 3 minus c is being isolated. Now I want to get rid of this 3 over here. I will subtract 3 on both sides. So negative c equals to 5 over y minus 2x minus 3. And for the last step, I do not want the negative sign, so I'll multiply everything with a negative 1, leaving me with 3 minus 5 over y minus 2x. Sometimes we are required to expand and factorize when we are trying to make something the subject. Okay, so I'll show you example 9. Oh, by the way, you're supposed to do example 7 by yourself. Do yourself. So example 9 over here, I want to make x the subject. We can choose to multiply the wanted in over here, and choose to multiply all this in. Alternatively, we can choose to multiply everything by 3. Reason is because I want to get rid of the 1/3. So this leaves me with 2x minus 3 equals to 6y minus 3. I only want x as the subject, so 2x equals to 3 plus 6y minus 18, which is 6y minus 15. So this is 2x, so x must therefore be 3y minus 15 over 2. So do example 10 yourself. Okay, I will go through example 12 this time. You will be doing example 11 yourself. You may pause the video and do it. Now example 12. A equals to 1 plus b divided by 1 minus b, and to make b the subject. Okay, so let us do the multiplication. So we end up with a times 1 minus b equals to 1 plus b. Now we need to expand, because my b appears once over here and it appears once over here. So I need to combine them together. Now to expand this out, I will end up with a minus ab equals to 1 plus b. Grouping all the b terms together, I will get a minus 1 equals to b plus ab. So you see that I'm putting all the b terms together, and now I get to factorize it out. 1 plus a. So this a minus 1 equals to b times of 1 plus a. So look, initially I had two b terms, so I still have two b terms, still two b terms, and now after factorizing, I only see b appearing once, and that is what I need when I want to make b the subject. So the final step will simply be b equals to a minus 1 over 1 plus a. Okay, so example 13, do yourself. For example 14, make y the subject. This time we see y appearing here and appearing here. Whenever we see it appear twice, we try to combine them together. Sometimes it will involve factorization, as we have seen in example 12. So this time, let's put all the y terms together. We get ay minus by equals to a square minus b square. Okay, so what have I done on both sides? What I did was to subtract by, at the same time I added a square to arrive at this. So the next step is to factorize, since I only want y, so a minus b equals to a square minus b square. Next, since I only want y will therefore be a square minus b square over a minus b. I hope you find this familiar, because the numerator can be expressed as a plus b, a minus b divided by a minus b. Okay, and what do we have to do after this? So from here, we are now left with a plus b. That's it. Okay, you get to do example 15 and 16 yourself. Okay, now for example 17. Express C in terms of E and M. Looks quite simple. Let's see what happens. So mc square equals to E plus D. Now I only want C square, I only want a C term, so I want to try and get rid of the M first. Leaving with C square equals to E plus D over M. I only want C, I do not want C square. So to move from C square to C, I'll need to square root both sides. Okay, so let me write it down. Square root. Here is where many common mistakes are made. When you introduce the square root yourself, you need to include the plus minus. Okay, because there are two possible answers. It could be a positive square root E plus D over M, or negative square root E plus D over M. So you get to try example 18 yourself. Here we have example 19. Express x in terms of y. It is found under this square root sign. In order to get rid of it, we would want to square both sides. So y squared equals to 4 plus x. And x is simply y squared minus 4. So example 20. Express g in terms of t and l. So g is found over here. Getting rid of everything else first. I want to remove the 2 pi over 3. So what do? I want to multiply by 3 over 2 pi. Multiply by 3 over 2 pi, such that I will arrive at t times 3 over 2 pi equals to square root L over G. What this step has done was to remove all of this. Okay, now I want G only. So it is found inside a fraction, which is found inside a square root. Next thing I need to do is to get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. So this gives me 3t over 2 pi, and then I square it to give me L over G. Now at this point in time, you may want to put G on the left side. It doesn't matter, you can do it anytime you want. Okay, so for me I prefer that. So L over G equals to, I'll expand the square, so this gives me 9t square over 4 pi square. Now G is found in the denominator. G is found in the denominator. I want it in the numerator. What I can do is simply to flip them around. So G over L is simply 4 pi square over 9t square. So why is it that I can do this? From this step to this step. Effectively, I am multiplying both sides by, okay, let me put it another way. When we have A over B equals to, for example, 2 over 3. This tells me that A equals to 2 and B equals to 3, right? So if I want B over A, this tells me that, hey, I've got 3 over 2 based on these answers. And from this relationship, from this little exercise over here, we see that when I want to flip A and B to become B over A, the result is simply 2 over 3 flipped over to become 3 over 2. So this is a little shortcut that we can do. So now I want G as the subject. I'll multiply by L on both sides. So 4 pi square L divided by 9t square. Okay, over here we have some of the interest rates of banks. Banks lend money, but there is a catch. They will charge you interest. So eventually you will have to pay back the amount that you borrowed plus more. So in this case, there are a few banks listed. We've got OCBC Bank charging at 4.5% per year of interest. And if you compare it with the rest, we see that POSB appears to be charging the highest interest rate. Okay, so let's look at how these work with an example. So Ryan wants to borrow $2,000 from a bank, and they say that you have to pay 10% of interest per annum. This means per year. So if you were to borrow $2,000 for 1 year, he will need to pay an extra of $200 interest. So after 1 year, if he decides to pay everything back, he needs to pay back the original, which is $2,000, but this time he needs to pay an additional $200 as interest. So the total will be $2,200. Now if it takes 5 years to return the loan, the interest, we call it the simple interest, will be multiplied by 5. So this was the amount of interest in 1 year, okay, which was 10%. 10% of the principal, the amount that he borrowed. So we see that the interest in total will be $1,000, and the total amount he has to pay will be $3,000 when he only borrowed $2,000. So that is paying a lot of interest. Okay, so let us try to derive a formula for simple interest. We have seen how we can calculate simple interest when you are given the principal, that is the amount of money that he borrows, when you're given the interest rate per year, and when you're given the number of years. So quite straightforward. The interest represented by I will be given by principal, the amount that you borrowed, times the interest rate. So over here it was 10%, over here it is R%. We do not know how much the bank is going to charge. And this is multiplied by the number of years. So this is our formula. And because I don't like to see this percentage symbol over here, we recall that we learned R% is actually equals to R over 100. So replacing that, we have P R T over 100. So this is the formula that we have for simple interest. Now from here, if I want to make P the subject, I need to remove the denominator of 100 by multiplying both sides with 100. So 100i equals to PRT. You may switch sides if you want to. PRT equals to 100i. Making P the subject, we need to divide both sides by R and T. If we want to make R the subject, again multiplying by 100 on both sides, we get PRT. If you're able to do it without switching sides, go ahead, we get 100i over PT. And this one you can do it yourself. And now the last page. A sum of $3,000, this is our principal. Interest rate 5%. Sorry, this is the rate, 5%. And per annum simply means per year. Find a simple interest if you borrowed for 1 year. So in this case, T equals to 1. Let us write down the formula. I equals to PRT over 100. So for part A, I will be equals to 3,000 times R, which is 5, times 1 divided by 100 to give us $150. Please do part B yourself, and I'll do part C for you. I equals to P, which is the same, 3,000. The interest rate is still 5%. Now T, instead of years, they give you 10 months. I require the time, this T over here, to be in terms of years. So converting 10 months to years is not difficult. It is simply 10 over 12 divided by 100 and get your answer. So example 22, he borrowed 5,000. This is our principal. This is the repayment of principal plus interest. Find the amount of interest paid. I'm sure you can see quite easily. I equals to 5,100 minus 5,000, which is $100. So now they want you to find the interest rate. So find R. Okay, we've got I equals to PRT over 100. If I want to find the interest rate R, I can choose to do all the substitutions already, or I can choose to make R the subject. In this case, I want to do that. So 100i equals to PRT. R will therefore be equals to 100i over PT. Next, I want to do the substitution. So R equals to 100 times the interest, which in this case happens to be 100, and we divide this by the principal of 5,000. And now the time. He borrowed for 4 months. So 4 months converted to a year will be 4/12. So after our calculation, we see that R equals to 6. So interest rate equals to 6%. Please do not write this as 6%. This will be wrong. Okay, because this value is equals to 6 and 6 is not equals to 6%. Okay, and finally you get to do it yourself. For example 23.